It's the Fresh Anointing Show with Jay Richardson. Let's see what nuggets Jay has for us today on the Fresh Anointing Show. Let's listen in now with Jay Richardson. The Fresh Anointing Show. Top of the day to you and welcome to the Fresh Anointing Show. We're glad that you're here today with us. We have an exciting topic today, along with my co-host, Pastor William Thompson. Good morning, Pastor.
Good morning.
I think we have a very interesting topic today. Can you help me find my time? I've misplaced it. I think that's one that many of us can relate to. It's time. We have 24 hours in a day, but seems like we still don't have enough time. I've heard people say, I wish there were more time in the day. I can't get everything done. Do you think that it all goes towards how we manage our time? Or what are your thoughts about this thing about time? Before you answer that question, I want to quote Gordon MacDonald. He speaks of a wordy religion in his book, Ordering Your Private World, meaning that one can go a long way, impress a lot of people simply through a felicity with words. So it becomes easy to make promises, verbalize intentions, and express one's convictions, which seemingly passionate with what they're doing or what they're talking about. But behind the talk can be a lot of wasted time and energy. And so we sometimes meet people who do not keep their promises, finish what they start, or back up their verbal intensity with dependable performance. Reason being, they do not know how to match their time with appropriate performance. Unquote.
Okay.
Your thoughts about this piece about time. Time is something that is very valuable, and sometimes we don't see it that way. We take it for granted.
I guess I approach life, Jay, from probably a different perspective than some people. And when I say that, I mean, when I study the book of Mark, and I study the life of Jesus, and I see he was constantly, it says in that one trip that he was on the road, and Bartimaeus cried out to him. And earlier he was on one side of the Sea of Galilee, then he's on the other side of the Sea of Galilee, then he's in Capernaum. He approached his 33 years with probably more of a single-minded mission. Whereas we do have more things to balance than Jesus did. First of all, he was single. He was not married. He did not have a family. He didn't have to do AAU ball or nothing of that nature. He didn't feel like he was letting anyone down. He had a single focus. Apostle Paul probably came along and picked up that same singleness of focus. And I don't know whether, with all the different things that are coming at us today, and we're still trying to use the Bible as our guideline for ministries and being pastors, balancing all of it is going to always be a little bit out of kilter. I don't know whether you'll ever be as organized with all that it needs to be done when you need to do probably 12, let's say it's a 24-hour day and you got 8 hours to do one thing and 4 hours for family. You got 30 hours of worth of work and you only got 24 hours a day, and that includes sleeping and everything. So can we really be as organized, or that more of a pressure that we put on ourselves rather than unloading the ship like they did when it got in a storm? Just maybe it's time to take some stuff out of the boat.
Mm-hmm. Getting rid of the precious cargo sometimes is difficult. When you think about it, though, look at, as we talk about the ministry that pastors have been given. God has given a pastor a very important responsibility. And a lot of times we look at the pastorate, and I think some people look at the pastorate as all we do as pastors is we get up and we preach on Sunday. And that becomes the gist of pastoring. However, that's not true. Pastors have a lot to do, and they juggle many different things. As we've said before, pastors have meetings, you have counseling sessions, you have preparation time, not only preparation just for Sunday, but you have preparation for your midweek Bible study. You may have to do hospital visits. You have all of these different things that you have to do. Now, let's take it a bit farther. Look at the bivocational pastor. He has to work a full-time job, and then many people think that he works a part-time job as a pastor. However, that's, again, not true. There is no part-time pastoring. Pastoring is a full-time job, whether you do it 4 hours a day or 8 hours a day, it doesn't matter, because you still have all of these things just as a full-time pastor does. So time here is an essence, but I think you said something off mic that I thought was very important about the difference between a leader and a manager. And I would like for you to talk about that, but I also would like you to put it in perspective. Where do you see that pastor? Do you see that pastor as a manager, or do you see that pastor as a leader?
James, I think 2 sessions ago, you brought up an interesting thought about the man who could predict which dog was going to win.
Right.
And you said it was whichever dog he fed was the one that was going to win that day.
That's right.
Okay, within us is the leader, and within us is the manager. And we do have to deal with both. As a pastor, we are a manager and we are a leader. We become a leader. Leader, we try to inspire people, the officers and the missions and all the different things that are going on. As the manager that's responsible for the day-to-day grind of the organization, we try to deal with the processes. Now, which one I feed is going to be the one that I'm going to be best at. So if I feed my leadership skills, I'm going to probably be a better leader as far as dealing with making people better. But I may miss the processes. And Jesus said, "Upon this rock I build my church, not my ministry." And we really have gone into ministries. And when you start talking about ministries, they just keep on birthing. You got more ministries. And when you talk about the church, you only got one church. But when you start talking about ministries, then you could be way out there trying to lead and manage everything from youth to pantries to civic organizations to you got someone in the church that's in politics, and they want pastor to be a part of that the ministry of politics, and then you got a ministry feeding the homeless, and he's trying to work in all of those things. And somewhere along the line, he had to realize I'm really called to lead the church and not lead the ministries. Because the ministries is where we get the stress from, not the church.
Wow. Now that is a very interesting perspective of how you just laid that out. So sometimes, correct me if I'm wrong, what I hear you saying is a lot of time our focus that we have is beyond what God has called us to do.
Right. Most definitely.
That's very interesting. So when we look at this piece about time, what I hear you saying between the difference in a manager and a leader is that manager, he has the skill set and understanding of what he needs to do or she needs to do as a manager. Is it that manager's responsibility to teach that leader to understand how to come up to that next level of time management, because time management is difficult for everybody, really. I mean, some people have the gift, I believe, that it's just a natural. But most of us, we struggle with this time. I consider myself as an organized person. However, I struggle with trying to get all the things done that I need to get done, because I got a to-do list that's very long. And it's difficult to accomplish all those things when you're trying to wear many different hats.
Jesus needed to ride a coat of an ass in Jerusalem.
Mm-hmm.
And what he did, he delegated to two of his disciples to go find the coat and go find the place that they're supposed to meet and come back. Now, at that point, was he managing, or was he leading? Because if he had took it up on himself to go find the coat and then go find the place to eat, that they were gonna have a supper, he probably would have ran out of day. So he knew how to delegate. Some things you can delegate, and other things, responsibility, you can't delegate. But there are some things that we need to become better at as leaders, so that don't eat up our time.
Well,
and I'm a creative person. We went to Zoom. We've gone to Zoom, and I'm doing this Zoom podcast with you now, loving it, James, just enjoying it. But I also do Zoom marriages. I'm doing 2 marriage counseling on Zoom with 2 different couples. On last Saturday, I did a family reunion on Zoom. I've got another one coming up real soon. I have taken Zoom and figured out how to get busy with Zoom.
Yes.
I'm creative. I'll find a way to get busy. And that's not necessarily a good thing. That's just putting loads. I just load my ship down with a lot of things that I may not need to load it down with. But this is my calling. But now, as a pastor, if I load that stuff on top of my other responsibilities, I have to figure out which one I'm going to feed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Along with my family, I'm not managing that time as well. Is it because of necessity? Is it because I've chosen to go out and add more stuff to the ministry?
Now, that's a very good point. I think you have hit something there. You've struck a nerve for me, because I think that is what most of us do as pastors. We take on many other things that we should not, or maybe I shouldn't use the word should not, but we don't have to.
Right.
But we do it. God has given pastors, those that have been called as pastors, God has given us a passion. It's like what Jeremiah says. He says, it's like fire shut up in my bones. When you have an authentic call from God, you want to do it all. You get excited about doing what God has called you to do. Let's go back and we talk about Jesus. Now, Jesus had his time, and he had discipline laid out. The first thing when we look at Jesus is that he clearly understood his mission. And he understood that he had a very important task to perform. And he measured his use of time against that sense of mission. You just said it. We have that mission that God has called us, but we go beyond what God has called us to do. So if we look at Jesus's model, he had this discipline of his life. He got up early in the morning. He spent time with the Father. He had time to teach and mentor and coach his disciples. He had time to minister to the people. He had time to heal the people, time to feed the people. Now, very busy schedule to me, seems like, but he managed it. He had this discipline. Do you think that we are missing the discipline of time management?
I say yes and no, and the reason why I say that because Israel said we want a king like everybody else. They wanted to be like everybody else. So even today, other people tell us how happy we are. We can be happy doing what we do, but somebody might tell you too busy. Mm-hmm. And now we start saying, I'm too busy. Am I really too busy? That's two things I want to look at. A leader has people following him, where a manager has people working for him. Two different things. So when Jesus chose people to follow him, he only chose 12 that he considered employed to work for him. He didn't send the crowd to go get the donkey. He only sent 2 of the 12. When he got ready to divide out the meal and tell them to sit them down, he didn't tell somebody in the crowd to come do it. He told he told the 12 that had also decided that was their mission. Mm-hmm. Their mission was to do the mission that he was doing. And so many times as pastors, we don't have anyone working for us. And I don't mean it necessarily getting paid, but I mean no one that we can delegate to, because they're responsible. What's urgent to us is not urgent to them. I tell someone when I was pastoring, I need this report so I can start contacting all of the inactive members. Well, that lady may have a full-time job somewhere as a bivocational pastor. So about 3 days later, I still haven't gotten it. But by that time, I start compiling it myself, because I don't want to wait any longer, and I'm compassionate to the fact that what's urgent to me is not urgent to her. Right. We don't have enough staff. That's all I say. To do what we need to get done, we don't have enough staff to get it done. So yes, we are.
That's a good point. A lot of times, especially for many of our smaller churches, don't have staff. And again, it's the pastor that's wearing all these different hats. And even though you may have some volunteers in your church, as you just alluded to, that those volunteers, they have full-time jobs that they're working. Right. Not only do they have full-time jobs, they have families that they're trying to take care of as well. As you said earlier, you got the Little League football, Little League soccer, Little League basketball. You have all of these different extracurriculum activities that parents are responsible for and taking care of the children. So now you have all of these things that are piled up on us. And I think we don't take these things into consideration. I think another problem for us, well, I should say, I know I had this problem as a pastor, as a denominational leader, is learning how to use that 2-letter word, N-O. No, can't do it. I can remember the time I preached 2 services in the morning. Somebody would ask me, can you preach a 4 o'clock service for me? That invitation was 3 to 4 hours away. Because I love what I do, I enjoy preaching. Guess what I said? I said, yes, I could do it. So you get down out of the pulpit, you jump in the car, and you headed to another invitation. And then guess what? You got 4 hours to drive back. And by the time you get back, guess what? You spent all that time, and now you don't have any time for yourself, or you don't have any time for your family. I use that example because I think a lot of times, and you said it before, is that we overdo it. Because as I said, we love what we do.
Right.
I can remember the time preaching, 4 times in a day. That's what we love to do. So how do we get to that place where Jesus is, or Jesus was back in the day, and be able to discipline ourselves and discipline our time management?
I don't know. I think that we got to get us a new model because of the fact that Jesus didn't have a son that was playing high school basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus didn't have a wife that wanted him to go to the movies later on that afternoon. Jesus only had a one focus, and he never intended for us to be, he never intended for us to follow after him that way, unless that was the road we chose. And if we choose that particular road, then there's some stuff that we can't take with us on that road.
Mm.
And we try to take it all. I want to be the best. I want to be the best husband. I want to be the best dad. I want to be the best pastor. I want to be the best on my job. I want promotions. I want to be involved. And whoa, good intentions don't always try to be good. I give an illustration the other day about the hen on the egg, and there was an elephant watching. And the elephant saw the hen sit there all day, and the hen gets up to go down to the creek to get a drink of water. Well, the elephant decide, I'm just gonna help the hen out. I'm gonna sit on the egg till the hen come back. Well, you might know what happened with the good intentions. By the time the hen got back, all the eggs were broke. So sometimes good intentions are not always a good thing. We got to measure out. Amen. We got to figure out what it is that I can do with the life that I have been given, and what it is that I can't do. I can't be like every nation around us. I cannot be like my 50-member church cannot be like the 5,000 member church down the street with a staff of 100. I don't look behind what's going on behind it. All I see is the man out front. So therefore, I keep starting things and I keep dropping things because I'm starting more than I can keep going.
Yeah,
I got to learn how to be good at just whatever it is. If it's being the pastor of that church and preaching the gospel and inspiring people to live godly lives, and that's all the time I have, because God knows how much time he's given us.
Yes.
Then
yes.
I have to manage that time wisely.
So with that being said, when you look at another insight in Jesus in his organization of time, is that he understood his own limits.
There you go.
Yeah, he knew his limits. So now what Gordon MacDonald says in his book Ordering Your Private World is that most of us have learned how to put together a budget for finances, but have we learned how to budget our time? So I think that's another factor that we have to learn. It goes back again, time management. How do you do that? And one of the things that I've over the course of years in being able to manage that time is you have to write out your to-do lists, and then you prioritize those things to help you to be productive. What I've learned, and I think I've said this before, what I've learned is that if you just come into the office and you just start doing stuff, I'm a task-oriented person, so I like to hit that task. But I'll work on this task, I work on that task, I work on another task. So I have all these different tasks that I'm trying to accomplish. But I found out if I come in and I prioritize my to-do list, I'm going to work on this project for this amount of time. When I finish that, I'm going to move to the next project, and I'm going to work on it for that a certain amount of time. And I keep going down the list. But the key is I have to prioritize those things. I have to make sure if I know that something is very important, I'm going to label it A. That's a priority for me. B is the second priority. The C is the third priority. So when I look at it, I need to make sure that I accomplish my A's. At least I get all my A's accomplished for that day. If I don't get the B's and C's accomplished, guess what? The next day, those B's move up to A's and the C's move up to B's. And then the new ones I put down, they become the C's, and you keep moving forward and you become productive in that way. Now, that's not something easy to do. It's something that, again, it goes back to Jesus and his discipline and organization. So it's a discipline that we have to implement in our lives, in our time management. And the second thing, as you have said, is we have to understand our mission. We have to know what God has called us to do, stick with that, follow that, and then other things we need to learn how to delegate. I love the story about Jethro and Moses, and I talk about it all the time because Jethro had a very organized plan for Moses. And He told him, this is a plan, and if you follow this plan, he says all the people will go home satisfied. Is it in Exodus 18, I believe it is.
Right. If I could go back in my pastoral years of 47, I think that I would spend more time with people. Now, we learn different ways, and I'm a hands-on learner. I mean, if you give me this Zoom, I'm going to not read the instructions. I'm going to mess with it till I figure it out. That's just the way I learn. Yeah. Okay, in my pastoral tenure, if we were building a church, I could tell you where everything in that church was at, because every day I went out there and helped that. I went out there where that contractor was, and I walked with him. He explained to me, and I now, was that a good utilization of my time? I would think that would have been better for a trustee, but that was my way. If we are doing, let's say we're going and we're going to set up and do a backyard something with in the community. I'm going to be a part of getting the platform erected. I'm going to be a part of the sound, and I'm going to test the sound. I'm going to be a part of all of that rather than just show up and preach, teach. I've utilized a lot of my time unwisely because I didn't develop people. I did the process, but I didn't do the people. So that meant I had to keep doing stuff that really ate up my time. And I think that we as leaders have to learn how to become better managers of our time and better managers of people, so that we can be more productive and not less productive. I may have better understanding of it, but I may not be as productive with it once I get it up because I've ate up all my time.
Yes.
I see the pastors today, a lot of them, and I believe they can say, I see pastors out setting up, we have this what they call drive-in church, drives. Yeah. And I see pastors out there putting the sound system up. I get to visit them. I see them out there erecting the tents. They don't just get to show up because the person that they delegate to show up sometimes don't come on time. So they say they're going to start at 9 o'clock, and the pastor gets there at 8:30, and guess what? Nobody has put the tent up. What does he do? Does he fire the volunteer? Does he put the tent up, or does he go without a tent? I don't have an answer for that. I just know that.
Right. None of us do. I mean, those are choices and decisions that we have to make, because sometimes things happen, and they happen on the spur of the moment. And so we have to make decisions of what we're going to do and be prepared to move forward.
But next Sunday I'm gonna be more prepared, because I'm gonna get out there in time to do it. So in other words, this Sunday I came at 8:30, depending on someone to do it for me, and they didn't get it done. So next Sunday I come at 8 o'clock. Now after I've done that, they said, well, just let the pastor, he'll get it done. He'll take it down, he'll put it up.
Right.
Now that a good use, and as a manager, what a manager does, and when I told you a manager works with what a manager does is people work for him rather than follow him. He just fires somebody.
Right.
We don't fire nobody.
Yeah, and I think you're absolutely right, is that we have to make a decision. If this person is not doing the job, then we need to have a sit down talk with them and determine what's going on. If you can't do the job, let me find somebody else to do the job. So again, it goes back to pastors having to wear so many different hats, and because we got to get the job done. So if nobody's there to do it, guess who's going to do it? We're going to do it ourselves, because we got to make it happen. We can't just sit there and just look at it and say, well, I wonder where Johnny is. I wonder where Mary is, because we asked them, we delegated the responsibility to them. On the other hand, they're not doing the job. So what we do a lot of times in our churches is we just kind of let it go. We sweep it under the rug, and we keep allowing those things to continue to occur. And it hurts the ministry, and it looks bad for us. So we have to address those things. I think too many times we let things just slip through the cracks, or we just sweep things under the rug and we don't address them. We have to learn how to bring our teams together. As you said, a manager. Another thing a manager will do, he's going to bring his team together, or she's going to bring her team together to say, hey, this is not working. We got to step up to the plate. If you cannot do the job, let me know right now so I can begin the process of looking for someone else that will be competent enough to do the job. But there you have it.
Dr. Samuel Chad wrote the book on Who's Shaking My Ladder. Mm-hmm. And he said I could do a whole lot more if I got the right person holding my ladder. I can reach further. but because I'm worried about whether you're going to let me fall or not, I'm only going to reach a short ways because I can't stretch.
Right.
And many times we can't stretch the ministry because we don't have the right people holding the ladder. That person holding that ladder, looking around, trying to see who just walked by, wanting to take a break. And sometimes what we got to realize that's not a good ladder holder. We got to get some more. We got to get some better ladder holders as men and women of God, and quit trying to do it all and then trying to manage our time. You can only get 5 pounds of anything in a 5-pound bag.
Right.
You can't put 10 pounds of ministry in a 5-pound bag. And we know that it's necessary that people get married, people die, people want to be counseled, ministries are still going on, people get sick, hospital visit. All of those things are part of the pastorate. They don't go away. Right. But our ladder holders may be the one that you send to the hospital instead of you going. Your ladder holder may be the one that does the other things there are some things that we can delegate that eat up our time. And as good managers of time, that is where we start delegating some stuff away. Yeah. So I can be more organized. Okay.
Very good. Very good. Any last remarks to young pastors out there? Anything you would like to say to them as it relates to time management?
I would like to say to them, we've done a great job of with our theology study, with our studies, with our seminary. We've got Masters of Divinities and PhDs. But these are unorthodox, unordinary times, and books don't really address what we're going through. So become a student of life. Learn about other things, because we're dealing with things that are more than just how well you perform from the pulpit. But there are other leadership things that we need to know today with technology and a lot of things. So we're going to have to take on a new learning path. What is important for my knowledge? I mean, I've got to learn how to be a different pastor than this is not my granddaddy's church.
Yes. Yeah. Can you help me find my time? I think I misplaced it. That's our topic for today. It's always exciting to be with you, Pastor Thompson. Great conversation. We look forward to the next time. On next Thursday, we'll do this all over again. And as we try to help not just our pastors, but also our leaders and our members in our churches understand the importance of time management. And I want to say to the pastors, the members and the leaders are looking to you as the manager, but they're also looking to you as the leader. And I believe that we play both of those roles. So therefore, we have to let them know that we are genuine and authentic, and let them see that authenticity that they're looking for in us to lead them as God leads us. We want to make sure that we do a good job in leading them. As Pastor Thompson said earlier, a manager is one that instructs the leaders and teaches the leaders. And when we look at the model of Jesus, he took time out to teach his leaders, to coach them and mentor them along the way and help them to become the disciples that he wanted them to be. So we need to find ways, how can we manage our times and how can we get the job done without overstepping the boundaries that God has given us? How do we need to learn how to delegate certain things to certain people? As Pastor Thompson said, we have to find the right ladder holders, those that are going to be committed to the task. If they can't be committed to the task, they don't deserve to hold the position. Those are my thoughts. Until next time, we'll see you next week, and may the Lord bless you real good.
It's time to look up, trust the Lord, and know that there is hope. He's getting ready to do something great, something awesome, something spectacular. So go and get your laugh on.
Is that the end?
With all you're going through, don't you think it's time for you?
Come on, get your laugh on.
Get your laugh on. Get your